just out of reach? Like you're ready to make big moves, but not sure where to start? If so, you're in the right place. Welcome to the 12 Days of Career Goals, the leading online conference for advancing your career and reaching your career goals in 2025. I'm Theresa White, career clarity expert, 5-time certified career coach, and your host of the 12 Days of Career Goals. We are bringing together 21 of the most respected career growth experts to deliver the actionable steps, insider strategies, and confidence you need to land big wins in your career. From exclusive live sessions and video replays to a Slack community of like-minded professionals and practical resources you can implement right away, this conference is packed with everything you need to turn your career dreams into reality. And the best part? It's completely free if you register by December 13th. So grab your spot and let's dive into the 12 Days of Career Goals. Welcome back to the 12 Days of Career Goals. Can you believe that we've arrived at day 6? And today we're tackling one of the biggest questions in professional growth. How do you find career clarity? Which, as we're going to find out today, is the foundation for success. Millions of people all over the world feel stuck in jobs that don't fit, feel misaligned, make them feel like a square peg in a round hole, and are unsure of what they want to do next. But here's the secret. Discovering your ideal career isn't about stumbling onto the right path by accident. It's about gathering the pieces of your unique puzzle and putting them together intentionally. And today, we'll explore a step-by-step process to help you uncover your ideal role, connect the dots of your story, and take action so that you can build the career you truly deserve. And I am so excited to be diving deep and giving you actual steps on how to gain career clarity today. Before we're going to talk about clarity, I want to summarize the last 5 days, all that amazing advice that we've already gained in this event, and that leads us and that really serves as the foundation of what you're going to be learning today. So I want to bring you back to day 1 of the 12 Days of Career Goals. It seems so long ago, but it was just this Monday when Jonathan Fields was here with us. And some of the most important lessons I personally took away from this very first session was that it all starts with self-discovery, something I so strongly believe in. There are so many tools that can assist us in this discovery, and it really all starts with finding what excites and energizes us. And learning about ourselves is the first step to create a meaningful career, something we're going to dive even further into today. Next, the importance of alignment in your work. The concept of being sparked, we're going to be talking about this more today as well, involves work that brings meaning, flow, purpose, engagement, and performance. When your work aligns with these drivers, it becomes a source of joy and fulfillment. It's absolutely true. And one other key learning I took away is that it is so important to regularly reflect and align. Because every few months, we want to go back and reflect on how we feel about our work. Ask if what we do still matches and makes us happy. That way, we prevent drifting into a direction that doesn't feel aligned, and we can make changes before we start feeling stuck. Then we moved into day 2, where Diana Waike-Chan shared with us her best advice on personal branding. A big thing that I heard a lot of people take away is that your personal brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. It's your reputation, your relationships, your results. And it is all about focusing on building trust and delivering value consistently. Diana also showed us that clarity creates confidence and confidence creates opportunities. And this is the umbrella that is going to be what we're going to be talking about today. Once you're clear on where you want to go, you will feel so much more confident in that direction. And then once you have gained that confidence, it's when opportunities open up. She also shared her brilliant brand framework with us. Be authentic, refine your message, add value consistently, network intentionally, and deliver results. That brought us to day 3 with Natalie Serebrenic and Anna Beliaeva, who shared with us how networking can actually turn conversations into opportunities. Natalie's had a fantastic approach called curiosity and generosity. So approaching networking conversation with curiosity and generosity is really what makes it less of an inauthentic and imposing question. It makes it more of a mutually beneficial relationship and looking out for each other and having meaningful, tailored conversations. I also love that Anna emphasized the importance of asking for the path forward. In our network conversations, we don't just want to leave that conversation hanging at the end. We do want to make a specific ask to get us one step closer to our career goals. And finally, follow-up is key. Do not be afraid to follow up when you network, because as we all know, life happens and following up is not annoying. It is a professional reminder, and you're actually helping them by remembering the message they most likely wanted to respond back to. On Thursday, Alana and Erica showed us how to make a bold career pivot without starting over. Ileana highlighted the importance of identifying your transferable skills, and something I strongly believe in as well is focusing on the ones you actually enjoy using and feel engaged when using. The ones that spark you, that drive joy and give you that feeling of purpose, meaning, allow you to experience flow. Erica provided a wonderful framework for sharing your career pivot story authentically and compellingly, starting with a catalyst, sharing your bridge and the destination where you want to go. This destination is career clarity, being clear and intentional about where you want to go. And finally, that huge question, what is it costing you to stay where you are at? What is it costing you to stay where you are? And that really encompasses the toll it takes on you personally, the mental health, your happiness, your growth by staying where you are. And asking yourself this question might be that push that gets you out of your comfort zone and explore new opportunities that are so much better aligned with who you are and where you want to go professionally. And yesterday, we had the amazing Melody Walding and Anna Gaynor talk to us about managing up and setting boundaries in the workplace. I loved how they showed us that these very difficult conversations can actually be transformed in framing conversation as being on the same page as your manager, pulling in the same direction, while at the same time communicating what your boundaries are, what you can do so that you protect your health and your well-being, and giving your manager actual steps, helping them, showing them other options of how things can be done without violating your boundaries. These were the last 5 days of this amazing event. We have 7 more days coming and so much more actionable advice. And today we're going to dive deep into the career clarity piece, because honestly, without clarity, nothing else will work. Without knowing where you want to go, you can't get there. So let's figure out how we gain actionable career clarity. Before we dive into today's topic, I want to take a moment to introduce myself as the host of the 12 Days of Career Goals. My name is Theresa White, and on the top left here, you see me working as a recruiter. My background is in HR and recruiting, and back on the left, you see me working at a job fair. On the bottom left, you see my home country, Germany. That is where I'm originally from, and I've been living in Hawaii I'm about to turn 40, and I moved here when I was 24, so for 16 years, I've been living in Hawaii, by the beach that you see here in the background. Here on the bottom left, again, this is the Schloss Neuschwanstein. It's the famous castle that the Walt Disney Castle is modeled after. And you see me there with my mom and my husband, Nino. On the top right, you see me dancing tango with my husband. We are both big Argentine tango fans. And on the bottom right, you see my 3-year-old daughter, Zaya, and my 6-year-old daughter, Paya. And they are truly the big reason for everything that I do. They inspire me to be the very best person I can be every single day because they are just amazing. On a more professional note, I'm a career clarity expert and the only coach on the market who guarantees clients career clarity in 30 days. I'm a 5-time certified career coach with industry-leading credentials, including being a certified Sparketype advisor, a certified professional career coach, a global career development facilitator, and I'm certified with the Society of Human Resource Management. I've guided over 500 women through a successful career change as a career coach, and on average, these women have seen increased salaries of 20K. I'm also a former recruiter and have all the insider know-how that only a former recruiter can tell you. But the version that you see of me today hasn't always been the case. In my previous role in corporate, I did have a successful career in recruiting and human resources, but there was always that itch, a nagging feeling that there was something more I should do, that this wasn't the work I was meant to do. But what is this and how do I find it? Fast forward today, I am now certain that I'm not the only one who has felt like this. There are literally millions of people all over the world who are trying to find their place. And it's no wonder because we never learn how to identify a career that really aligns with us and that we enjoy. And that honestly is a really big problem. So most people's careers and job searches look something like this. Imagine you're driving from A to B, but you don't know where B is. How long is it going to take you to get there? A really long time? Maybe forever? If you can relate to having ever felt like this in your career, drop a yes in the chat. And the really big problem here is that it's almost impossible to get to your destination if you don't know where that is. The key to reaching your career goals is knowing where you want to go, what your ideal career looks like. And that is true for if you're looking for a promotion, if you want to step into a new role, into a new industry. Whatever your next step is, you need to be clear what this should look like so that you can find it. And once you have that clarity, you're able to now position yourself as an ideal candidate for it and map out a route to successfully get there. So today we're going to dive deep into how to figure this out. And I want to start with a common assumption that I hear, and that is I'm good at XYZ, so I should be a XYZ. So giving you a couple of examples. I'm good at analyzing data, so I should be a data analyst. I'm really good at planning events, so I should be an event planner. I'm super good at solving technical problems, so I should be an IT support specialist. And I'm curious what all of you in the audience think about this assumption. Do you think this is right or wrong? Drop a right or wrong in the chat with what you think about this assumption. And while there are certainly instances where this is right, it definitely not always is. I want to give you an example here. I am great at stacking a dishwasher. I get more into my dishwasher than anyone else in my family. But does that mean I should be a professional dishwasher? No, I wouldn't be happy. Just like I was a great recruiter. On the outside, I had everything going for me. I was promoted over and over. I had a company car, a great salary. But deep down, I didn't feel aligned and I didn't like the job and I didn't like what I had to do every day. It was very misaligned. So, yes, I was good in recruiting, but that didn't mean I should be a recruiter. So now, if what we're good at doesn't necessarily equal what we should be doing, then how do we identify work that we truly enjoy? Now, this is the big question here, especially given that there's millions of options when you scroll job boards. Now, how do you figure it out which one is the right position for you? And I'm going to walk you through the step-by-step process today. What you need to know about me first is that I'm a scientist, per the Sparketype assessment, which you've learned about on day 1 of the 12 Days of Career Goals. Now, scientists are all about the pursuit of figuring things out. Scientists come alive and they can pursue burning questions, wicked problems, puzzles, riddles, and quandaries. Now, this is 100% me. And the question I cannot not solve for my clients is, what are you meant to do? And from this mindset is how I approach career clarity. And we first need to find all the puzzle pieces. So those are the pieces you need to feel fulfilled in your career. And once we have all the puzzle pieces, we then need to put the puzzle together. And that means identifying your ideal role. So we're going to start with identifying the puzzle pieces. And I believe that there are 6 really important puzzle pieces that you need in order to find career clarity. The first one are your strengths. What are the patterns of thinking, feeling, or behaving that consistently bring you success and satisfaction in various situations? The next puzzle piece are your skills, or specifically your transferable skills. What skills have you consistently enjoyed using to solve problems, achieve goals, or adapt across different roles, industries, or experiences? What are your interests? What topics, activities, or challenges do you naturally gravitate toward, lose track of time doing, or feel excited to explore further? What is your spark? And I'm going to be quoting Jonathan Fields here, what he said in our Monday session. The concept of being sparked involves work that brings meaning, flow, purpose, engagement, and performance. What are your values? What principle or qualities must be present in your life and work to feel fulfilled and authentic? And your ideal working conditions. What environment, pace, structure, and team dynamics help you thrive, stay motivated, and perform at your best consistently? So the step 1 is finding all these puzzle pieces for yourself. Once you know what all the puzzle pieces are for you that you need to feel fulfilled in your career, we then need to put the puzzle together. And I want to bring in here a question that I was asked earlier this week and want to dive deeper into. The question I received was, Theresa, you're known for helping clients achieve clarity in record time, guaranteeing this within 30 days. Can you break down how you approach this process so efficiently? What's your secret to accelerating results? And yes, I'm all about being efficient. And the secret for me is to not remain stuck in the exploration phase. Yes, self-discovery is super important, and I do not want you to skip it ever. And as Jonathan on the session in day 1 emphasized, is that introspection should be a consistent and ongoing process so that you don't drift off path. But when you want to make a change in your career, doesn't matter if that is moving up, moving sideways, if you want to move into a different role, then being stuck in the exploration phase and thinking about your skills, your strengths, your values for a month, 3 months, 6 months is not going to get you there. It is all about figuring out your puzzle pieces efficiently and then putting the puzzle together, translating your insights into what your ideal role now looks like, and then taking action to find and land that role. And I'm going to walk you through the exact process I take my clients through in the Career Clarity Formula, my signature coaching program. And I'm going to illustrate this on the example of my client, Lauren, who has recently made a career change. So when I first met Lauren, the first thing she told me is that she had 4 different roles that just seemed all over the place. So she was an administrative assistant, a marketing specialist, an operations analyst, and a corporate trainer. And she was really good at all these roles. She always got positive feedback. But even though she was really good at them, it never felt like the right fit for her. And she also noticed that somehow she fell into all of those roles without her actively seeking them out or choosing them as her next ideal step. They just somehow were the ones that were offered to her and seemed like a reasonable move at the time. And she took it, but she never sat down and actually figured out what she really wanted to do. And now she's 2 decades into her career and came to me still feeling, I don't know what I want to be when I'm grown up, which is a sentence I hear a lot from my clients. And I felt that myself, so I can relate to that so much. So the first step is we're discovering all the puzzle pieces she needs in order to feel fulfilled in her career. For the sake of time in our session today, I'll just briefly share one of the pieces, which was her spark. Again, Jonathan Fields dove into this in much more detail in our day 1 session. So if you missed that, go back and listen to it. Lauren's primary archetype was the advocate, and that resonated with her very deeply. Advocates are all about advocating. Their impulse is to shine a light on a situation that needs to be changed. It's about activation and amplification. They help spotlight voices and translate their needs into awareness, energy, agency, action, and change. And in our first coaching session, we dove deep into all the past incidences that made her come alive, where she got to amplify and advocate and activate. Some of the insights that stood out and that I still remember is that she came alive when forming trust-based relationships with colleagues, partners, and communities. She loved championing causes for underrepresented groups, especially marginalized communities. She really enjoys providing opportunities and creating a voice for marginalized individuals. And it's super important for her to do work that has a long-term positive impact on people and communities. Now, we've uncovered all these instances in the past where she came alive. Now, the next step we take is asking, what would a role look like that revolves around those activities? And in guiding her through this next step, it became clear, and this is within days, that the role of community engagement manager would be a perfect fit for her. And I'm just focusing on one role here for the sake of brevity in this session. But generally with my clients, we have a bucket of roles that really match what they're looking for. But here, the community engagement manager really aligns with her passion for building trust-based relationships, advocating for marginalized groups, creating opportunities, and driving long-term meaningful impact by empowering communities and amplifying underrepresented voices through strategic and inclusive initiatives. But now, the next challenge is, if we now tell a hiring manager, or Lauren tells my hiring manager, I've been an administrative assistant, I've been a marketing specialist, I have experience as an operations analyst, and I'm also an experienced corporate trainer. And I would really like to now become a community engagement manager. They probably don't see her as the ideal candidate for it. They might see some transferable skills, but they're not going to be convinced. So, how do we now solve this problem? So the big question that we're going to need to ask ourselves next is, what is the problem a community engagement manager is expected to solve? Why does a company hire for this role? In this specific example, the answer is community engagement managers are expected to solve the problem of effectively building and maintaining strong relationships, between an organization and its community to foster engagement, support, and collaboration. Now, we can use that insight as an umbrella to tell her and as the lens through which we're going to tell her story. And it's starting with rephrasing that into a personal brand statement. And in this case, Lauren's personal brand story is a pattern of success in building and maintaining strong relationships between an organization and its community to foster engagement, support, and collaboration. Now, there's a lot more to personal branding that we covered in day 2, building a powerful personal brand with Diana Waike-Chan. So if you want to dive deeper into that personal branding aspect, go back and listen to day 2. Now that we have that lens that we want to tell the story through, that umbrella that's going to bring together all our past experiences, we can now connect the dots. And we can tell her story throughout that lens. Instead of just listing the jobs and the tasks that she's done, we can communicate it as an administrative assistant, I successfully coordinated events, organized volunteer programs, and built and maintained partnerships. In my next role as a marketing specialist, I successfully created targeted campaigns, collaborated with stakeholders, and gathered community feedback. In my role as an operations analyst, I successfully analyzed feedback, optimized resource allocation, and supported data-driven community-focused initiatives. And most recently, as a corporate trainer, I successfully coordinated and delivered tailored workshops and mentoring programs and promoted knowledge sharing and collaboration. Throughout my entire career, I consistently excelled in building and maintaining strong relationships and fostered engagement, support, and collaboration, making me an ideal candidate for the role of community engagement manager. Now we're talking. Question for everyone in the audience. Would you hire Lauren if you were to be hiring for a community engagement manager? If so, drop a yes in the chat. And this really illustrates the power of, one, knowing your target role. Because if she never had discovered what this role is, she could have never found an umbrella or lens to tell her story through. And then she could have never positioned herself for that role. So step 1, finding this target role is really where you got to start. And then, only then, can you connect the dots to be seen as an ideal candidate for that role. Next thing Lauren did was diving headfirst into networking. And you can go back to the session day 3, Unlock Opportunities Through Networking with Annabelle, Eva, and Natalie Sabranik. We really took this topic apart, and they shared so much actual advice on how to do this. Lauren put that into action, and within just 3 months, she landed an incredible role as Community Outreach Director. You heard that right. She actually got hired in a role that was a level higher than what she even dared to target. And that goes back to what Eliana and Erica shared on day 4, that it is possible to make a bold career pivot without starting over. And this process that I just shared with you is the exact process of how my clients inside the Career Clarity Formula not only gain career clarity quickly and efficiently, but also land amazing roles. So what's one piece of advice I wish everyone could hear as they embark on the journey to find career clarity? The one piece of advice I want to leave you with is that it is possible. Every time a client of mine lands a role, I ask them if they thought that would have been possible 3 months ago, 6 months ago. And the answer is always no. I didn't think it would be possible. It seemed completely out of reach. So if you right now think that this is not possible to land the position that brings all the puzzle pieces together, and so if you right now think this is not possible to land the position that brings all the puzzle pieces you discovered about yourself together, then I want you to know, as hard as it might be to believe today, it is possible. And it is possible for you. And because I know this can be so hard to believe, I want to hear this directly from one of my clients who I recently had the following conversation with.
But when I was interviewing for this position, I was like, this is absolutely perfect. Like, to actually create things that anyone in the world can access, that are for a subject that you love, is just so perfect.
That is amazing. Did you think, when you think back 6 months ago to the beginning of the year, did you think that would be possible?
No, no, I'm still today, I'm still like pinching myself a little bit. Like, I can't believe I did it.
She didn't believe it was possible just at the beginning of this year. And now at the end of the year, it's been 6 months and she's thriving in her new role. So even though it feels impossible or so far away from you right now, I want you to know that it is possible for you. And by the end of 2025, when we're coming back here for the 12 Days of Career Goals 2025, you can be in a role that you love, and that meets what all that you've been searching for. So as we wrap up the session, before we're going to go into Q&A, and by the way, this is a perfect time to drop all your questions into the chat. I want to leave you with 3 steps that will bring you closer to your ideal career. Number 1, self-discovery. Start with identifying your unique puzzle pieces, your strengths, your skills, your interests, your spark, your values, and your ideal working conditions. Step 2, gain clarity. Assemble the puzzle pieces to uncover your ideal role. And 3, position yourself. Connect the dots of your story to become the ideal candidate. Now it is time for Q&A. And you might have seen my email that I did offer a career clarity life coaching session. So I'm actually, because there was such a huge demand and there are so many questions, I decided to have a longer Q&A session today, and we'll be privately hosting the coaching sessions for the people that volunteered, but we'll share that recording with all of you by the end of today. So you can really look forward to seeing all of this unfold in real time with real people like you and me. And it's going to be really insightful to see how this process really works with the clients I'm going to be meeting, or the volunteers I'm going to be meeting with later today. So I've gotten a ton of questions, and I want to start with the first one that I received is, how can I identify the puzzle pieces of my career story when my past roles feel disconnected or unaligned? So again, how can I identify the puzzle pieces of my career story when my past roles feel disconnected or unaligned? And that's very common. That happens a lot, that our past careers and our past roles don't feel aligned with where we want to go next. And the exercise I would like you to do in this situation is to think more broadly. So you might have been in roles, and a recent example comes to mind here. I worked with a client who was actually in training and development, but in a very admin-heavy role. So there was not a lot of interaction with actually employees who needed the training. It was more the creation of the design and the admin-heavy tasks. And she was deeply unhappy in that role. Now, when she came to me, she said there's nothing that sparked joy. There were nothing that she felt really enjoyed about the role. Everything just had this negative connotation. But when we when we went a layer deeper, she remembered really loving whenever she got a chance to welcome new people onto the training and development team. She was the one to welcome them, to swoop them up, introduce them to everyone, show them the ropes. And that piece was something that became really important in her career clarity journey. This piece was the one that she identified as, I wish I could have been doing this all day, every day, because this is what I love doing. Now, she wasn't paid to do this. This wasn't part of her job description. No one had asked her to do this, and no one even recognized her for doing it or valued her for doing it, except the new hires that really appreciated her guidance. But it was something she loved doing. And then we started imagining, what would a role look like that revolves around this thing that she loves doing? And that example can help you identify bits and pieces in your past, even when your past roles were really misaligned, disconnected, unaligned, that maybe there was something you did that sparked joy. Maybe it was outside of work at a volunteer project or something that you did that's not related to work. Or maybe it's something that at work you're doing just because you realized that would get better results or make things run more smoothly. You weren't asked to do it and it's not in your job description, but you did it anyway. Identify those moments, those little moments, even if they seem small in the beginning. And then keep adding to it. And the Sparketype assessment is such a powerful tool here because you can approach it from that lens of, okay, yes, this is what sparks me. Now, what were the moments that I did do that? And then figure out these little bits and pieces and write it all down, even if it seems not important or not big enough at the moment, but write it down. And that's how you uncover those little road signs in your past roles and in your past experience that will point you to a real role that would be a really great fit for you. The second question I received via email was, do you have tips for avoiding analysis paralysis during the self-discovery phase of finding career clarity? If you've ever struggled with analysis paralysis, drop a yes in the chat. Know that you're not the only one. It's a very, very common struggle. And my approach to that is good enough. Good enough. So when we go back to identifying your strength or your skills, could we spend the next year of refining this list of transferable skills and finding another one to add and maybe taking one off because it isn't as energizing as something else? Yes, we could easily do it. But that's not going to get us to move forward and into a role that we would really love and enjoy doing. So instead, make your list good enough. Take 2 hours to identify your transferable skills and then trust yourself that this is good enough. And then keep moving forward. If further down the line you really have this big aha moment, you were like, oh my God, I forgot this really important skill. Go back and add it in. But don't stay there. Don't stay there forever. Give yourself a time limit. Say, okay, I'm going to take 2 hours to identify my strengths. I'm going to take 2 hours for my skills, 2 hours for my values, and then I'm moving on. So set yourself a timer and give yourself that deadline, and then trust yourself that by the end of that timeline, it's good enough and you can move on. With that self-discovery, it's never going to be perfect. We're humans with so many layers, and there's so many aspects to us. We can't put them all on paper. It will take our entire life, and if we do this for our entire life, then we're never going to actually take action, and that's not what I want for you. So again, give yourself a specific amount of time, 1 hour, 2 hours, and then trust yourself that's good enough and move on. The third question I got in my emails this morning was, what strategies do you recommend for defining ideal working condition when transitioning into an entirely new field? Oh, that's a great question. And we underestimate the importance of ideal working conditions. When you think about ideal working conditions, the first thing that comes to mind often is, do I want to work in office, hybrid, remote? But there's so much more to identifying what your ideal working conditions are. So if you decide to work in the office, what then is a reasonable commute? If you want to work remotely, are you going to be working from home, or is it a job that you want that you can work from anywhere in this world? How much travel are you comfortable with? Do you enjoy travel and that needs to be a part of your job? Or does that not work with your lifestyle and you prefer the role not to include any travel? What about benefits? What type of insurance do you need? How many people need to be covered? All of those are really important parts of the working conditions as well. A huge one, paid time off. How many days of paid vacation do you need? How many sick or personal days do you need? Do you need vacations off? What are your expectations for parental leave? Is volunteer time off important to you? And what type of physical environment do you thrive in? Do you do your best work when you're in an open plan layout, in a private office, a mix of this? Do you need it really quiet to concentrate? Or do you like a bustling office where you really get energy from? Do you love working for small companies of less than 100 employees that are startups where you get to wear many hats and help build that company? Are you more drawn to small business or mid-sized enterprise? Or do you love really large established companies that have very established roles and operating procedures? What resonates most with you? What feels most aligned? Do you rather work for an international organization or a local one? Is diversity, inclusion, belonging important to you? Do you value a strong team spirit? There are so many different aspects to think about. What is the work-life balance that you're envisioning for yourself? So all of those questions are ones that you want to get really clear on and find the things that are most important to you. There's never going to be a right or wrong answer to any of these questions. There's only going to be the question of what is right for you personally at this moment in your life. And you are free to change and grow. What's right for you at one point in your career might not be right for you at another time in your career. And that goes back to what Jonathan Fields said on day one, is that we want to take time for a continuous self-audit and see if what we identified and noticed about ourselves in the past still feels aligned. A really common example I can share here is that when I think back on my own career or work with clients, often in the beginning of our careers in our 20s, we are so driven and we don't mind working 50 hours a week. And success is really important. And that's a lot of times defined by the role and the title we have in the financial part of the job. Then we move into our 30s and our priorities shift. For me personally, I had my children in my 30s. So work-life balance became much more important and equally important to the financial piece of my work. And then as people move on later in their career, I commonly see that they feel they've achieved success by the traditional norms, but that there's a piece of purpose and fulfillment and meaning that's missing and missing very deeply. And that becomes so important for them to find. So as you go through your career, different things will become important to you, and that can change. So even if you are making a change, going back to the question, what strategies do you recommend for defining ideal working conditions when transitioning into an entirely new field? Even when you're transitioning into a new field, those are questions you can answer for yourself. You don't need to have experienced all of them to know where you're thriving. And then make a list of your top 5 non-negotiables that you absolutely need to find in your next role. And then you're really clear about the ideal working conditions you're seeking. And then that clarity, again, helps you make that a reality by finding companies that are aligned with what you're looking for and intentionally targeting roles at those companies. Moving on to the next question that I received. How can I explore my transferable skills without feeling limited by the roles I've had in the past? Whew, this is such a good one. I want to dive deeper into the transferable skills here for a moment. And let me share my screen here with you. What I'm going to show you on the screen now is something you can download for free on my website, careerbloomcoaching.com. You can download your free Ultimate Transferable Skills Guide. I'm going to blend this in here for a second. careerbloomcoaching.com, the Ultimate Transferable Skills Guide. And this is what will open up for you. And it's super helpful. This is a question I've been getting so many times that I absolutely wanted to share that with the world to help everyone who is asking this question. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Before we're going to go into how to identify your transferable skills, I want to talk about a concept that Eliana has touched on in her session on day 3 with Erica together on what engages you. And it actually goes back to, again, what sparks you from the session on day 1. So step 1 is we're going to start with identifying everything you're good at. And I have a beautiful list for you right down here where you can start checking all the things that you feel that you're good at. But as we explored in the session earlier, just because you're good at something doesn't mean that that's what you're supposed to necessarily do. So step 2 then is thinking of yourself like a battery. When you're thinking about using the skill or doing the skill for a while, is that going to energize you or is that going to drain you? So if we're going to take one of the examples from down here, budgeting. I'm good at this. Yeah, you check this off. I'm good at this. Now, I want to think about, okay, if today I would need to spend the next 3 hours on the budgeting, creating a budget, thinking about the budget, allocating, would I feel at the end of that time, would I feel really energized and motivated? Or would I feel drained and exhausted? Because again, just because we're good at something doesn't mean it energizes us. So going back to the image here of the battery, is your battery empty after you're doing it? Or is your battery full? And that's the answer you want to answer for that's the question you want to answer for each skill. And a lot of skills are going to fall somewhere on that spectrum. But listen to your gut. Your head is going to tell you, most likely, you're really good at budgeting. That should energize you. I always remind my clients that the word should doesn't belong in our self-discovery. What does your gut say? If I'm telling you, okay, for the next 3 hours, your job is going to be budgeting. What's your gut reaction? Yeah, I'm going to be excited to do that. Or is it going to like, oh man, no, please not. Your body will tell you. It really will. It knows. And then you can also, of course, add your own skills to this exercise. So what is in this list, and it's a couple of pages long, this list, are the most common transferable skills. But you can also add in your own ones and also evaluate, you're good at this? Does this energize you or does this drain you? And listen to your gut more so than your head in this exercise. So when we're then going back down to the list here, now you're going to have 8 pages of the most common skills. And don't get stuck in analysis paralysis. Go through it quickly. Your gut reaction is the best one. You don't have to overthink this. Check off the ones. I'm good at this. Yep, good. Okay. And then go through each one. Drained or exhausted? What does my gut say? And go with that. After you've completed the exercise, you're going to look at only the skills that energize and motivate you. The ones that you are a clear yes, like absolutely yes, want to do this all day, every day. And you're going to create a list of all the skills that energize and motivate you. And then you're going to ask yourself, what would that job look like where I get to use those skills for the majority of the time? What does this role look like where that revolves around those skills that I'm not just good at, but that really energize and motivate me? And this, coming back to the question on how can I explore my transferable skills without feeling limited by the roles I've had in the past, this exercise will help you with that. You don't just have to think through all the very role-specific tasks and skills you've used. We're taking a broader angle and going through the skills, and most of them you will have used in the past in many different capacities. And once you use the skill in one capacity, you can transfer it into another capacity, into a different industry, into a different role. And that will really help you identify what the core of the role looks like. And there is another really important part that I want to emphasize here is when we are talking about career clarity, it's much more important to gain clarity on what you want to be doing on a day-to-day basis. That is way more important than the title that you're going to be having. Because you've all came across that. Let's take a common job title, a program manager. It can mean literally a million different things at every different company. Or project manager, or even marketing manager. It can mean so many different things. And it comes down to the actual job description of what you are going to be doing on a day-to-day basis that allows you to use the skills you've identified. So with my clients, we never start with the job titles. We always envision what this job looks like first. What are you going to be doing on a day-to-day basis? This is equally important if you're thinking about moving up in your career or you want to move into a different role or industry. If you're thinking about your next promotion, what is it that you want to be doing? It's not just about getting that next title. Great, the next title is great, but what if you don't actually like the work that you're going to be doing day to day? You're not going to be happy. So focus on what is it that you want to be doing? What does your day-to-day look like in that role? What are the tasks and responsibilities you're going to have that allow you to use the skills you identified as energizing? And then get really clear about that ideal job description. And only then we want to think about the title that aligns with that job description. Moving on to the next question. How do I find a professional mentor? Love that question. I'm going to be tapping back into a lot of what Natalie shared with us, Natalie and Anna shared with us on the topic of networking. So finding a professional mentor is super important throughout your entire career. For the career clarity part, and that ties in with what I was just sharing, for your career clarity part, first, you're going to do that internal work and get clear about what the puzzle pieces are that you really want to take with you into next career. What are the skills that energize you that your role should evolve around? So now we have that ideal job description. Now your next job is to go out and find people who do that exact work. And thankfully, we have the best research platform for this possible, LinkedIn. So go on LinkedIn and find people who do the work that you envision for yourself doing. These people are the ones who are where you want to be one day. So they're the best ones to share advice and gain insights from and learn how they got to where they are. How to do that? I highly recommend you listen to the session with Annabelle Eva and Natalie Sarabrani to build authentic relationships with these people. Reach out to them, seek their advice, seek their insight, be genuine. Let your curiosity drive that outreach. Anytime I connect with someone who is in a role that I aspire to be, that curiosity in me just becomes alive. Like, oh my God, this is amazing. You're doing this work. Tell me all about it. How did you get there? What did you learn along the way? What were some challenges? What were the best moments of your career? I don't even have to think about the questions to ask because my curiosity just drives that conversation so naturally. So those are the people I want you to find on LinkedIn and then start reaching out to them. And this continues in your job search. So when you're in the exploration phase, it is so important to not just figure it out on paper, going back to the analysis paralysis that you can get stuck in for the next month, year, decades. So once you have an idea that's good enough for what your next job should look like, take that step and talk to people. You will never figure it out perfectly on paper. But when you talk to people who do that type of work, that's where the clarity sets in. That is where you can get that insight. Now you have an idea of what this role looks like. And when you talk to someone, you're going to have that aha moment of like, yes, this is what I want to do. Or you're going to have that gut reaction of like, oh, well, no, that's not how I picture this to look like. Maybe that doesn't feel aligned. Let me explore something different. Without having those conversations, you're kind of still in the dark. So put yourself out there. I know it is a big step out of the comfort zone for most people, but you will so appreciate it. And then when it comes to landing the role and finding and landing the role you're now very clear on, you've already started building a network. And at that point, you want to really expand that network and build authentic, meaningful relationships with the decision makers in the field and in the roles that you're targeting. All right, I love this next question that we got. I can actually bring this here on screen since this wasn't. All right. Nope, it was from the Slack, so I'll answer it right here. Perfect. How long should it take to write a personal purpose down? Is it the same to have a career? Is it the same to have a career clarity? Maybe it is not about personal purpose, but a target role instead. That's a really good question. And I want to separate the purpose from purpose here. I purposefully do not talk about purpose a lot in my work for the reason that purpose puts a lot of pressure on people. Some people are extremely passionate about things. I'm extremely passionate about dancing Argentine tango. I'm also really passionate about the environment. Other people are like, oh, I don't really have that one big passion. And then it's the big question, should I turn that passion into a career? So the word passion for me makes things more difficult. I tend to go with interests. What are you generally interested in? Where do you lose track of time? Where does your curiosity naturally bring you to? Not saying that purpose doesn't play a role in that. For some people, it certainly does. Someone who's extremely passionate about, let's say, the environment will find a lot of fulfillment and meaning working with a company that is aligned with that mission. But for me, it would be more helpful in gaining career clarity to gather those pieces, the puzzle pieces that I shared. And one of those can be the things you're passionate about because they're going to come up under your interests. And then seeing how these puzzle pieces come together. And how long should it take? Generally a week. With my clients, about a week is a good amount of time for self-discovery. Does not need to take longer than a week. And then you're going to have all the puzzle pieces that are going to be good enough. And then you're moving on to identifying now what does this role look like and talking to people who do that type of work. So I hope I answered this question. Feel free to clarify and I can provide more context around in the Slack channel here. This was just absolutely amazing spending this last hour with all of you. I am so thankful for all the amazing questions that you all asked in the emails, in the Slack channel, and in this live session here. And that really gave us the chance to unpack the puzzle pieces of your strengths, skills, values, and ideal working conditions, and discovered how aligning these with your professional goals can unlock incredible opportunities. Career clarity isn't just about knowing what you're good at. It's about understanding what fulfills you and taking intentional steps toward a role that brings it all together. And career clarity really is the foundation for all career success. It turns uncertainty into confidence, and it turns aspirations into achievements. Before you're leaving today, I want you to reflect and write down the key insights or strategies that resonated most from you in your 12 Days of Career Goals guidebook. Second, identify one specific action to apply today's learning, whether it's diving into self-discovery or crafting your personal brand statement. Be specific and make it actionable. And then connect. Share your thoughts and continue the conversation and the discussion in our Slack channel. The link to that is in your email. I also love seeing how so many of you have started sharing your learnings from the 12 Days of Career Goals on LinkedIn and other platforms. It's so beautiful to see these key learnings shared with the world, and I highly encourage you to continue to do this. Don't keep what you learned here today and in this entire event just to yourself. Share it with your network. This event is about giving back to as many people as we can possibly reach. So the more that you can share your insights with others in your network, the more powerful it is. Thank you for spending this day today with me. And tomorrow, we're going to be back diving into another transformative session where you'll learn how to navigate your salary with confidence. In the meantime, you can follow me on LinkedIn at Theresa A. White, and I will see you back here tomorrow.